A woman who cheats always leaves these signs. Female psychology, Old Stoic Wisdom. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. Let's cut through the noise. Cheating doesn't just happen. It doesn't come crashing in out of nowhere like some random storm. It brews quietly, subtly, and often right in front of you. It starts like a drip in your roof, annoying but manageable. Then one day, the ceiling caves in and you're left wondering how the hell you didn't see it coming. But here's the truth most men don't want to face. A woman who cheats always leaves signs. Always. They're not dramatic. They're not easy to point at in the moment. But they're there. Hints, shifts, changes in behaviour, in rhythm, in presence. It could be the way she avoids your eyes during conversations, the sudden obsession with privacy, locking her phone, flipping it face down, new clothes, new makeup, a renewed interest in the gym. But not in you. A disconnect in intimacy, emotionally absent, physically distant, frequent nights out with the girls that never come with stories afterward. These aren't random. They're red flags, footprints in the mud. But what do most men do? They rationalise it. She's tired. She's under a lot of stress. It's probably just a phase. We convince ourselves that saying something would make us insecure or weak. So we stay silent while the house burns down around us. And here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. The old Stoics didn't shy away from pain or pretend it didn't exist. They believed in seeing things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change." That mindset applies here. You don't need to panic. You need to observe. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. That gnawing feeling in your gut, that's your inner compass sounding the alarm. It's not paranoia. It's perception trying to surface through your denial. And this isn't about blaming women or demonizing relationships. Some people cheat because they're unhappy, broken, or lost. But your job isn't to diagnose her. Your job is to respect your own awareness, because what you tolerate in silence becomes your prison. If you're in a place where the connection is fading, where something feels off, and you're walking on eggshells trying not to admit it, pause. Reconnect with your instincts, not your pride, not your fear, your instincts. It's better to face a hard truth than to live a comfortable lie. So today, we're laying the signs bare, not to make you paranoid, not to make you bitter, but to help you see clearly, act wisely, and walk forward with your eyes open. Because when betrayal happens, it rarely arrives without warning. It always leaves a trail. You just have to be willing to follow it. Let's begin. Sign 1. Her attention shifts, and she pretends it hasn't. Her attention doesn't just slip away, it moves with purpose, even if she pretends it hasn't. And no, you don't need a PhD in psychology to recognize it. You feel it deep in your gut, like a change in weather before a storm. One day she's warm, engaged, lighting up at your stories, remembering the little things that matter to you. The next, her eyes drift, her mind is elsewhere, and suddenly you're speaking to someone who looks like her, but doesn't feel like her. The woman who once leaned in now leans away, subtly, but unmistakably. She stops asking how your day was, and the laughs that once came easily now feel forced or absent altogether. Important details slip her mind, not because she's suddenly forgetful, but because her desire to remember has faded. And when you bring it up, trying to make sense of it, she doesn't meet you with honesty. She deflects. "You're overthinking. I've just been tired. Don't be so insecure." These aren't explanations. They're shields. Because here's the truth, brother. Women don't pull away for no reason. Emotional detachment isn't an accident. It's a signal. When a woman begins to drift, her heart and mind are already somewhere else. And that somewhere could be another man, a dream of freedom, or just a fantasy of who she used to be before the life she shares with you. In the realm of female psychology, this pattern isn't new. It's ancient. As the Stoics observed, human behaviour follows predictable laws. Desire, fear, boredom, novelty all of which tug at the soul. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. When the trials come in love, they rarely knock at the door. They slip in quietly, and if you're not awake, you'll miss the signs until it's too late. But you feel the friction when she starts pulling away. That's your wake-up call." Stoic wisdom urges us not to react in panic, but to see things as they are, clearly, without illusion. It reminds us to ask, is this within my control? Can I meet this moment with courage and clarity, or will I grasp and chase what's already fading? Most men, when facing this shift, fall into two traps. Either they deny it entirely, hoping things will magically return to normal, or they chase her harder, smothering what little flame might remain. But the Stoic answer lies elsewhere, in presence, strength, and detachment from outcomes. In modern life, distractions and emotional shifts happen faster than ever. The pull of social media, the dopamine spikes of attention from strangers, the glamorized escape of fantasy lives, it all makes emotional fidelity more fragile. So, when a woman begins investing her emotional energy elsewhere, she might still be physically present, but mentally and spiritually, she's already inching out the door. It's not about catching her in the act of betrayal. It's about recognizing when you've stopped being her priority, when your emotional connection has been replaced with silence, excuses, or polite indifference. And if you ignore those signs, believing you're just being paranoid, you set yourself up to be blindsided. So what should a man do when he senses this shift? Don't confront her with accusations. Instead, confront yourself first. Where have you been asleep at the wheel? Have you grown stagnant in your habits, your purpose, your presence? Because while not all emotional distance is your fault, all of it is your responsibility to observe. Take inventory of the relationship with brutal honesty. Reconnect with your values, your mission, your edge. Not for her, but for you. A man grounded in purpose is harder to shake. He becomes less reactive, more observant, and ultimately more attractive, not just to her, but to life itself. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius put it, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If her distance reveals a truth you didn't want to see, let it be the mirror that sharpens you. Let her silence deepen your focus. If she stays, she will reawaken to your strength. If she leaves, you will already be rising. In the end, the signs are always there. A woman who cheats, or is even thinking about it, starts showing these signals not because she wants to be caught, but because emotionally she's halfway gone. Your job isn't to obsess over her every move, but to stay awake, to stay aware, to stay powerful regardless of what she chooses. Because true strength isn't in holding on, it's in knowing when to let go and how to walk forward with dignity. If this message resonates with you, like this video, share it with a man who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more timeless wisdom grounded in experience and truth. We're building a space for high-value men, aware, resilient, and unshakable. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever sensed this shift before it became undeniable? Comment to remember. I choose clarity over illusion. Sign 2. She starts hiding the small stuff. She doesn't vanish all at once. She begins by hiding the little things. Not the kind of secrets that come crashing down, but quiet omissions that slip under your radar. Cheating doesn't announce itself with lipstick stains or late-night texts from strangers. No, it begins in the subtle silences. Where once there was openness, an easy conversation about her co-workers, the usual banter about her day, you now find vagueness cloaked in fatigue. It was just a long day, she says, but doesn't offer more. She used to leave her phone lying casually on the counter, screen up, accessible. Now, it's always face down or clutched in her hand like it contains state secrets. These aren't grand betrayals, but they're meaningful shifts. Once she shared her world with you, tagged you in photos, posted stories of your weekend adventures, dropped your name into conversations like it was her favourite thing to say. Today, scroll through her social media, and it's as if you never existed. She's presenting herself to the world not as a partner, but as a free agent. And when you dare to question any of it, She doesn't explain. She accuses. You're being jealous, controlling, toxic. These aren't clarifications, they're deflections, clever, pointed, emotionally weaponized deflections. What's really happening is this. She's compartmentalizing. Like a skilled tactician, she's dividing her life into separate domains, the life she still shows you, and the one she's now reserving for someone or something else. This isn't about one sudden betrayal. It's a slow withdrawal, an emotional detachment masked behind the facade of daily life. A cheating woman, especially one who doesn't want to confront the full moral weight of her actions, becomes a kind of magician. She learns the art of distraction. While she's smiling with one hand, the other is busy creating a reality that doesn't include you. And if you sense something's off, if your instincts whisper that the connection is fraying, she'll use your own concern against you. Emotional gaslighting isn't just about making you feel wrong. It's about making you doubt your very ability to perceive reality. You ask questions, and suddenly you're the villain in the story. The crazy one. But let's be honest. Deep down, you know. You always know. The body feels what the mind doesn't want to admit. The distance, the coldness, the way her energy pulls away like the tide, quiet but undeniable. In ancient Stoic philosophy, they taught that suffering often comes not from what is happening to us, but from our resistance to it. Epictetus said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that's what happens to many men in these situations. They sense the truth, but they don't want it to be true. They rationalize, hope, excuse, because the idea of being betrayed is more painful than pretending everything is fine. But Stoicism isn't about pretending not to feel. It's about accepting reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. It's about clarity, about seeing with unflinching eyes and responding with calm purpose. If you're a man in this situation, take a moment and step back, not emotionally, but intellectually. Watch her behavior like a wise observer. Is she still bringing you into her world, or is she building one that excludes you? Does her presence feel warm and open, or guarded and distracted? Does your relationship feel like a shared life, or a performance you're both pretending still works? In today's world, distraction is easy. Opportunities for emotional escape are everywhere. DMs, dating apps, old flames reignited by a "just thinking about you" message. We live in a time when people are tempted by fantasy and novelty more than ever, and the ease with which someone can begin to live a double life has never been greater. But that's no excuse. Relationships require presence. They require the courage to confront problems, not escape from them. And if someone you love is slipping away, don't be afraid to trust what you feel. Don't let guilt or gaslighting convince you that concern equals control. Healthy relationships welcome transparency. If asking where she's been or why she's distant sparks accusations instead of conversation, something is wrong, and not with you. So what do? You ground yourself. You don't chase, beg, or try to win back a version of her that may already be gone. You embrace the old Stoic mindset. You control only your actions, your responses, your character. Let her secrets be her burden. Your job is to stand in the truth, to remember that being a man isn't about suppressing your instincts or doubts. It's about honoring them with strength and wisdom. If she's honest, then honesty will deepen your bond. If she's not, then clarity will free you. Either way, you win when you refuse to betray yourself in the process of trying to keep someone who's already leaving. Sign 3. The intimacy vanishes, or mutates. When a woman begins to stray, it rarely starts with loud announcements or dramatic confessions. It starts in the silence, in the subtle shifts, in the barely noticeable changes that a man trained in awareness cannot afford to ignore. The first arena where this betrayal unfolds is the bedroom, where truth hides in touch. You'll notice it, not with your eyes, but with your soul. Intimacy either disappears like smoke in the wind, or suddenly erupts with unnatural fire. She may go cold, distant, like being touched by you takes effort, a chore. Her eyes no longer meet yours during those moments. Her body is present, but her spirit is elsewhere. You feel like you're lying beside a mannequin molded by memories, not love. But here's the trap. The flip side can be even more deceptive. She might become too eager, overly passionate, trying out new moves, new sounds, new energy that feels foreign. It's not coming from your shared history, it's coming from somewhere else. Something else. Someone else. It feels like a show, a distraction, a smokescreen. This is the paradox. Both the absence and the exaggeration of intimacy are warnings. Red flags waving in your face. Because when a woman cheats, she isn't just sharing her body, she's shifting her emotional currency. And make no mistake, intimacy is currency. It's finite. It gets spent. And if she's spending it elsewhere, what's left for you is either the leftover crumbs or an artificial display to keep you from asking questions. Sex becomes something dark. It becomes a performance to silence her own guilt, a chore to keep up appearances, a tactic to keep you blind. But rarely, almost never, is it real anymore. You will feel that shift, not during the act, because the body can be trained to lie, but in the aftermath, when she rolls away too quickly, when she looks at her phone instead of you, when you lie there staring at the ceiling, wondering why you feel more alone next to her than you do when she's not there at all. Seneca once said, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." And yet, most men suffer unnecessarily because they ignore what's right in front of them. They deny the shift. They rewrite the story in their heads to protect their ego. They convince themselves they're overthinking, when in fact, they're underreacting. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics comes into play, not as cold philosophers, but as men who understood the cost of self-delusion. Epictetus warned, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters." And here's what needs to be burned into your mind. Reaction is not weakness. Inaction is. You must reclaim the warrior's mindset, the calm, focused awareness that sees through pretense, that isn't afraid of the truth. If you feel her fading, if the bedroom becomes a battlefield of confusion, you need to stop pretending. You're not crazy. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive. You've just been taught to ignore your gut to preserve your comfort. But comfort is the killer of kings. Real men don't chase. They observe. They decide. They act. And in this age of temptation, where Instagram hearts mean more than whispered "I love yous," where loyalty is an endangered virtue, you must elevate your standards. Loyalty isn't a request, it's a requirement. And if she can't meet that, you walk. Not with drama, not with tears, but with absolute silent certainty. This is the path of the man who leads himself, the man who doesn't beg for truth, but exposes it by standing tall in his presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Her betrayal? That's an outside event. But your response? That is your domain. And your domain must be ruled with power, with clarity, with dignity. If you've ever made love to someone who felt miles away, if you've ever kissed a woman and felt the emptiness echo back at you, you already know. The question is, will you stay in denial or will you take command? Modern life rewards those who move with discernment, who don't flinch in the face of hard truths, who choose legacy over lust, purpose over pretense. And yes, it's painful to accept that the woman you love may no longer be with you, not truly. But pain is the price of clarity, and clarity is the foundation of power. Don't let her mixed signals confuse you. Don't let the good days erase the bad patterns. A woman who's loyal doesn't confuse your instincts. She doesn't make you feel like a stranger in your own bed. She brings peace, not puzzles. And when that changes, you must change with it. This is your moment to rise, to awaken, to stop playing blind. Reclaim your time, reclaim your throne. Your energy is sacred, your love is a gift. And if she treats it like an option, you must treat her like a memory. Comment "I command clarity" if this message found you. Like if you refuse to be deceived. Share with a brother who needs to stop tolerating half-love. And subscribe if you're done living with your eyes closed. This is not just content. This is your wake-up call. Sign 4. She picks fights that don't make sense. She starts fights that don't make sense, and you're left wondering when everything shifted. One day it's a missed text while you were driving. The next, it's a sink full of dishes that turns into an emotional trial about how you never listen or make her feel seen. But here's the truth most men overlook. It's not about the dish, and it never was. This behaviour, subtle at first, is called emotional displacement, a powerful psychological defence mechanism. When a woman begins to stray emotionally or physically, she may unconsciously project her guilt onto you, picking fights not because of what you've done, but because of what she's hiding. It's a classic tell, not unlike smoke before fire. The Stoics taught that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and in many cases, the internal battle she's facing becomes external conflict directed at you. She's not just lashing out, she's grappling with the discomfort of being the villain in her own narrative, and to ease that dissonance, she flips the story. Suddenly, you're painted as inattentive, cold, or overly demanding, not because it's true, but because it makes her decisions feel justified. This is how cheating gets reframed in her mind. It's no longer betrayal, it becomes coping, healing, or finding herself. That's why you start hearing phrases like, "You just don't understand me anymore," or "I need to explore who I really am." In reality, these are not spiritual awakenings. They're rehearsed lines in the theatre of self-justification. The danger here is that many men, especially those who pride themselves on being providers and protectors, internalize this blame. They fall into the trap, trying harder to please, fix, and prove their worth, unaware that they are being emotionally manipulated. Ancient wisdom cautions us. He who angers you conquers you. Don't let this chaos shake your core. You must remain the calm in the storm. When a woman is already emotionally halfway out the door, arguing will not pull her back. It only gives her more fuel to validate her decisions. Your best move is not confrontation, but observation. Watch her actions, not her words. See the pattern and step outside of it. Maintain your dignity and peace, because in doing so, you preserve your power. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about self-respect. Understand that you are not responsible for someone else's dishonesty or guilt. The signs are there. Sudden mood swings, accusations that seem disproportionate, rewriting the history of your relationship to paint you in a darker light. These are the brushstrokes of someone rewriting the narrative to justify crossing a boundary. And while our modern culture often cloaks such behaviour in empowerment slogans, it's important to differentiate growth from betrayal. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Real empowerment is built on integrity, not avoidance of guilt through blame. Gentlemen, this is your moment not to react with anger, but with clarity. Do not chase what's fleeing or try to fix what is committed to breaking. Focus on the facts, not the feelings being thrown like daggers in the dark. When something no longer feels aligned with honesty and mutual respect, you must ask yourself if you're holding on to a person or just a memory. Emotional manipulation disguised as personal growth is still manipulation. Take this wisdom to heart, and more importantly, take care of your peace. If you recognize these signs, understand that it doesn't make you weak, it makes you aware. And awareness is the first step to reclaiming your own story. In the words of Epictetus, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Don't let someone else's guilt chain you to confusion or shame. Instead, respond with strength, grace, and purpose. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced this kind of emotional shift in a relationship? What signs did you notice? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's open up this conversation so more men can navigate love with wisdom, not just emotion. Sign 5. Her future plans no longer include you. When a woman begins to imagine a life that no longer includes you, it's not always loud or dramatic. It doesn't arrive with slamming doors or shouting matches. It slips in like a morning fog, unnoticed until everything around you feels distant. One day, she's dreaming aloud with you about shared vacations, weekend getaways, a cozy life together. Then suddenly, she's only speaking in solo terms. I want to travel someday. There's no more we, no more us. What once was, when we get a place together, has become, I've been thinking of moving, a phrase that sounds casual but is full of quiet finality. These aren't just slip-ups in language, they're signs of emotional withdrawal. She still talks about personal growth, ambitions, the future, but your name isn't part of the vision anymore. And when you gently bring up these shifts, she deflects with phrases like, you're reading too much into it, or I just need to figure things out, often painting you as overbearing for simply noticing the growing distance. This slow, emotional drift is more dangerous than an outright breakup because it's hidden under the pretense of normalcy. It's like watching someone pack their bags silently in the middle of the night. She's not gone yet, but she's already halfway out the door in her mind. This emotional detachment often precedes the physical one. She disconnects first on the inside, becoming less present, less engaged, less available, and yet still physically there, making it hard to pinpoint the moment you began feeling like a ghost in your own relationship. The eyes that once looked at you with warmth now pass right through you. Conversations feel rehearsed, affection becomes mechanical, and love starts to feel like it's suspended in air, no longer grounded in the reality you once shared. In moments like this, it's tempting to beg for clarity, to bargain for her affection, to try and fix something that's already broken. But doing so only deepens the pain and delays the inevitable. As the old Stoics taught, we cannot control others, only ourselves. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Don't waste your time trying to hold on to someone who's already let go. If she needs to lose herself in order to find herself, and that journey excludes you, then you are never truly walking the same path. It's a hard truth, but one that offers freedom if you're brave enough to face it. Modern life constantly bombards us with the illusion that relationships are supposed to feel perfect all the time, and when they don't, it must be our fault. But emotional honesty is more valuable than perfection. Pay attention to the signs, not just the words. Actions whisper louder than explanations. If her plans, thoughts, and visions no longer make room for you, believe what you're seeing. It doesn't mean you failed. It means it's time to refocus, rebuild, and move forward with clarity. In the same way, Marcus Aurelius advised to accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. You must also be willing to release those who are no longer bound to you, with that same heart. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom, and in wisdom there is peace. Comment to remember: I choose peace over pretending. Sign 6. She becomes overly independent suddenly. What once felt like a life built together starts to fracture into parallel lanes, each going its own way. You might notice she now insists on doing everything solo: errands, weekend routines, even hobbies and activities you once shared with laughter and comfort. While independence is undoubtedly a sign of strength and self-assurance, when it appears abruptly and pervasively, it can sometimes cloak something deeper: emotional withdrawal. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." But when that freedom begins to look like avoidance or an intentional stepping away from mutual experiences, it's worth pausing to ask why. A woman who once cherished togetherness doesn't suddenly crave solitude without cause. Relationships, like gardens, require shared effort and attention. When one gardener disappears, the weeds of disconnection quickly grow. In real life, these changes can be subtle: a new workout routine she doesn't want to include you in, a shift in bedtime schedules, or solo outings that replace your previous weekend rituals. The Stoics taught us to observe without immediate judgment, but also not to turn a blind eye to the signs the world is presenting. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." If her thoughts are increasingly focused on herself and not the partnership, her soul and actions will begin to reflect that inward turn. Don't confuse this with the healthy space every person needs. This is about an emotional unthreading, where shared dreams turn into separate pursuits and you start feeling more like a roommate than a romantic partner. The suddenness is key. Long-term evolution in personal growth is natural, but abrupt detachment often signals internal conflict or a secret being harboured. Perhaps guilt, perhaps new desires, perhaps resentment unspoken. As men, especially those between 35 and 70, we've learned to brush off warning signs, to man up and give space, thinking it's noble. But Stoicism isn't silence. It's awareness. It's resilience rooted in truth. And in these moments, being stoic means paying attention with a calm, clear mind and taking stock of the emotional balance. When someone suddenly stops needing you, it's not always growth, it might be departure in disguise. Ask yourself, is this independence, or is it detachment disguised as strength? And more importantly, how do you feel in this new arrangement, respected or rejected? Gentlemen, don't ignore the silence between the lines of your daily interactions. Wisdom lies not just in action, but in perception. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever noticed a partner becoming suddenly independent? And what did it truly mean in your relationship? Your story might help another man spot the signs before it's too late. Sign 7. Her words say love, but her actions say otherwise. Her words say love, but her actions say otherwise. A contradiction as old as time, and yet so often overlooked by men who desperately want to believe what they're hearing. She may still utter familiar phrases, "I care about you," "You mean a lot to me," but listen closely. Not with your ears, but with your eyes and your gut. The tone is hollow. The look in her eyes has changed. And most of all, the little gestures, the ones that once made you feel seen, wanted, important, have faded into silence. This is where the ancient wisdom of the Stoics comes in, timeless and brutally clear. Don't judge people by what they say, but by what they do. Marcus Aurelius warned us that reality is not what is said, but what persists in the patterns of behaviour we observe. If she tells you she loves you but avoids intimacy, if she says you matter but treats your needs as burdens, the disconnect isn't accidental. It's a signal. In female psychology, there's a concept often overlooked by men. Emotional detachment precedes physical betrayal. By the time a woman cheats, or seriously considers it, her heart has usually already left the room. Words remain only as camouflage, a means to keep the peace or buy time, not as reflections of deep emotional truth. So when affection becomes performance, when hugs feel routine, kisses lose their spontaneity, and kindness starts showing up only when others are watching, you're not imagining things. That's a defense mechanism. She may not be ready to admit what's really going on, or she may be waiting for you to confront the obvious, so she doesn't have to. The Stoics would call this the moment of clarity, when illusions begin to fall away, not out of anger or confrontation, but out of careful observation of nature as it is. Men, especially those in midlife, often ignore these signs because they remember the past with rose-tinted lenses. You think of who she was, not who she's become. You remember the laughter, the passion, the warmth, and assume they must still be somewhere inside her. But reality isn't anchored in the past. It's grounded in the present. And right now, if her actions don't line up with her words, that's your truth. The pain of accepting it might be great, but the pain of denying it is greater over time. Seneca advised us to not be misled by appearances or wishful thinking, for self-deception is the cruelest betrayal of all. Think about it like this. If your best friend said he valued your friendship but never returned your calls, flaked on every meeting, and avoided meaningful conversation, you wouldn't hesitate to call that out as fake. So why tolerate less from a woman who claims to love you? In modern life, where distractions and options are abundant, it's easy for emotional neglect to hide behind routine obligations or social niceties. But real connection doesn't vanish without a reason. You must have the courage to face what's missing, not just cling to what's said. Wisdom isn't just in detecting deceit, it's in choosing not to live under it. The good news is that once you see the truth, you can choose your path forward. You can confront it. You can talk openly, set boundaries, or walk away with your dignity intact. You don't have to beg for what should be freely given. You don't need to fix what someone else has already decided to break. And above all, remember, a woman who truly loves you will never make you question it with her actions. When love is real, it shows up quietly, consistently, without needing to be announced. That's the kind of love worth keeping, and the only kind worth waiting for. Comment to remember: I trust actions, not words. Cheating isn't a random act. It's a process. Cheating is never just about sex. It's not about that moment her body betrays you. It starts long before that. It begins quietly, like a shift in the wind. It starts the moment she stops looking at you with admiration. When she stops sharing her thoughts, her dreams, her frustrations. When your presence becomes routine, not reassuring. When she starts texting someone else more than she talks to you. That's when the betrayal begins. Not when lips meet, but when hearts part. Understand this: cheating is emotional first, physical later, and a man who pays attention, a man who knows himself, sees it coming from miles away, but only if he's willing to look, really look, and not flinch from the truth. Because the signs are always there. They don't hide. They whisper through her absence, her coldness, her new phone habits, her sudden me time that doesn't include you. These aren't coincidences. These are signals. And you, brother, are not a fool unless you choose to be blind. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. Stephen Hawking. Don't convince yourself she's just going through something. Don't fall for the modern lie that love means tolerating disrespect. There is no virtue in staying loyal to someone who's already emotionally checked out. A woman who cheats, truly cheats, doesn't do it in a day. She prepares for it. In her mind, in her heart. She detaches first. She builds a world without you. So when she finally steps over the line, it feels like freedom, not guilt. And that is what should hit you the hardest. Because if she feels free in another man's arms, you've been caged in a relationship that already died. Now listen closely. A man must live by a code. Your standards are not suggestions. Your boundaries are not up for negotiation. The moment you allow them to be crossed without consequence, you train her, and anyone else watching, that you will tolerate betrayal, that you will eat scraps and call it a feast. Number. Not you, not anymore. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Your mind creates 1,000 excuses. You convince yourself it's just a phase, that you can fix it, that love will conquer all. But deep down, you know. You feel the shift. You feel the cold. And you feel yourself shrinking just to keep something already broken. That ends today. You don't beg for respect. You command it. You don't negotiate your worth with someone who no longer sees it. And above all, you do not stay in a place where your presence is merely tolerated. A real man walks away from what insults his soul. That's not weakness. That's power. That's the wisdom of the old Stoics. Men like Marcus Aurelius didn't beg for love. They stood in truth. They ruled over their emotions, not the other way around. And you must do the same, because every moment you spend trying to win her back is a moment stolen from your greatness. Let her go. Let her run. And let your silence remind her of the man she lost. Modern life makes it harder to see this. Social media paints illusions. Women post photos that scream independence while hiding disloyalty. Friends tell you to talk it out when the conversation's been over for months. But your gut never lies. Your instincts are ancient, sharpened by thousands of years of survival, of leadership, of knowing who you are and what you stand for. Trust them. Stop overthinking. Stop second-guessing. She made her choice. Now it's time for you to make yours. Do you stay broken, or do you rise? You want to master your life, then master your standards. You want to attract better? Be better. Every king has walked through betrayal, and every great man has turned heartbreak into fuel. Use it, transform it, and remind yourself that rejection is redirection. Her leaving might just be the beginning of you stepping into your real power. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Maya Angelou. Don't chase ghosts, chase growth. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of pain. A sharper, stronger, more focused man who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, and doesn't settle. This is your wake-up call. This is the moment you stop tolerating the intolerable. This is where you draw the line, not with fear, but with fire. You're not just reacting, you're rising. From now on, let your energy demand respect before your words even speak it. Let your presence shake the room, not with noise, but with conviction. And let the next woman know from the first moment. This man does not play games, and this man never stays where love is not returned. Comment clarity if this hit your soul. Because if you're tired of the confusion, the second guessing, the emotional roller coaster, then it's time to step into certainty. Subscribe now, because here, we don't chase shadows. We sharpen steel. We sharpen you.